So Act 2, Scene 2 of Julius Caesar, what's happening?
I've been having nightmares all night about sort of all manner of horrific things taking place, and I interpret this as it means something awful is going to happen to Caesar.
And what do you want in this scene? What would be the ideal scenario for her?
The ideal scenario is that he does not go out. She has to maybe manage his sense of dignity and his sense of himself as a leader. She can't just say, right, you're not going. She has to persuade him.
And Caesar, how does Caesar feel about this, Andrew?
He's Julius Caesar. He can do what he wants. There's this interesting thing of course, omens and dreams and portents and all of those kind of things are terribly, terribly important in ancient Rome, but presumably by the time Shakespeare wrote this play, they were less so. So there's this kind of dichotomy between, you know, we'll do what the gods tell us to do, but in fact he's being sceptical. That's Shakespeare speaking.
Yes.
That's not Rome speaking, as it were.
He listens to her though, doesn't
he?
He doesn't immediately shut her down and say, stop it. Shall we go for a version where she is really quite forced? She's really powerful with her argument. Shall we try that version?
Yes.
Caesar, I never stood on ceremonies, but now they fright me. There is one within, besides the things that we have heard and seen, recounts most horrid sights seen by the watch. A lioness hath whelped in the streets, and graves have yawned and yielded up their dead. Fierce, fiery warriors fought upon the clouds, in ranks and squadrons, and right form of war, which drizzled blood upon the Capitol. The noise of battle hurtled in the air, horses did neigh, and dying men did groan, and ghosts did shriek and squeal about the streets. Caesar, these things are beyond all use, and I do fear them.
What can be avoided? Whose end is purposed by the mighty gods. Yet Caesar shall go forth, for these predictions are to the world in general as to Caesar.
When beggars die, there are no comets seen.
How was that version?
You know, it feels a little bit maybe too strident, because even if he's not the most powerful man in the known world, you know, he might still walk out the door. It's always good to hold a little something back. Maybe it's useful to have that in moments rather than to have it be a great big torrent of forcefulness.
Yeah. Andrew, how did it feel for you being on the receiving end of that level of intensity from Kristin?
But yes, it was interesting. She's very insistent and upset. I just felt like I'd just keep my counsel and
sort of block her out.
Yeah.
If you are in a panic and a passion and you're really determined to tell someone something, if someone meets you with a great level of, I'm not taking this on board, it's so funny how it sort of feeds your fire and you don't calm down. It almost makes you angrier and more determined.
You know, he does yield. It just depends how he yields. The way we play it often is that, all right then, I'll do it. Or you could equally go, all right, for your humour, I will stay at home.
Yeah, because you do agree eventually, don't you? However, then you get them persuaded by somebody. Somebody else comes in.
So from that you can read that he's got to do what he's got to do. You know, his mind is made up.
What could be another way that Calphurnia approaches trying to persuade Caesar to stay?
I think if we really consider his status, both as the most powerful man in the world and as someone who probably has the personality that if he wants to, he could just walk out. So maybe something which is, it's much more softly.
Lowering your status and elevating Caesar's status, or at least your awareness of it in terms of how you're going to approach him. Andrew, should we try something else for Caesar?
You could play it absolutely that he takes all of these dreams really, really seriously.
Yeah, great. So let's give that version a go. We've got high status Caesar, slightly lower status Calphurnia, or at least that's how she's going to approach it. And Caesar's going to listen and be a little bit more open to what she's got to say. Let's give it a go.
Caesar, I never stood on ceremonies, but now they fright me. There is one within, besides the things that we have heard and seen, recounts most horrid sights seen by the watch. A lioness hath whelped in the streets, and graves have yawned and yielded up their dead. Fierce, fiery warriors fought upon the clouds in ranks and squadrons and right form of war, which drizzled blood upon the Capitol. The noise of battle hurtled in the air. Horses did neigh, and dying men did groan, and ghosts did shriek and squeal about the streets. Caesar, these things are beyond all use, and I do fear them.
What can be avoided? Whose end is purposed by the mighty gods? Yet Caesar shall go forth, for these predictions are to the world in general as to Caesar.
When beggars die, there are no comets seen.
That kind of degree of intimacy and understanding and really hearing her.
You were more equal in many ways because Caesar was listening to you more, taking you on board, and there's more mutual respect there.
And for me, the use of that is understanding that this is a moment we see them alone and there's no one necessarily to play up to. And we have such a small window to see the married couple, not the people standing on the podium going,
the
here we are.
public figures.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. and Mrs. President, essentially.
It's about plot, isn't it? It's about, you know, and the audience, don't forget, knows that he's going to die. And so Shakespeare can take his time with the Portia and Brutus scene in a way that he can't quite hear.
Although we think it's a fun trick to play, isn't it? That we think, even though we know it's going to happen, is this a turning point?
I think it's one of those genius moments of Shakespeare where he could have written this scene between Caesar and someone else. You could have jumped right into Decius Brutus and Caesar could have just said, oh, my wife's had this nightmare. But the fact that you actually have, as brief as it is, a scene between Caesar and his wife is an opportunity for us to show any of those things.